Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys have had a good July 4th. Anyway, listen, I want to talk about something that's vitally important for Bitcoin. And, when I say Bitcoin, I'm actually talking about all the cryptocurrencies because they all come under that one. I've often talked about Bitcoin. I've often said it's like kind of like a circus tent, and Bitcoin is that main pole in the center that they raise first. And when Bitcoin goes up, all of the other cryptocurrencies go up with Bitcoin. So when I say Bitcoin, that's what I'm talking about. Something that's vitally important for it. We have a situation that's going on right now that's never, ever happened in the world before. We have, in the United States of America, we have a clear divide in the financial system. And that divide comes at the point where we have Wall Street and Main Street. There's a clear divide there, and Main Street now is getting poorer and poorer. And as they get poorer and poorer, they're pumping and funneling more and more money into Wall Street. And we're not talking about piddling amounts of money either. We're talking trillions and trillions of dollars. Well, if there's all that money out there, how come prices aren't skyrocketing through the roof, you might ask? And there's a reason for this. Is because all of that money that they've created on Wall Street is all in digital accounts. It's digital money. It doesn't even exist in paper form as fiat currency, as in cash. Doesn't even exist in paper form. It just exists in digits. And when they create more, they're just pushing a button on a computer and entering in a bunch of zeros, a whole big line of zeros behind it, and then they push enter, and that's it. That's all they do. That money now has become something that doesn't represent real tangible goods or assets in the real physical world. And so they put it in their big accounts. But we're talking voluminous amounts of money, and they keep adding more and more money to it. And it's in that state, it's actually worthless. That money is really not worth anything until you use it to purchase something. And when we're talking these voluminous amounts of money, it doesn't matter what you purchase with it. When you're talking trillions of dollars, whatever you purchase is going to go astronomically high in price instantaneously if you start purchasing trillions of dollars worth of it. But at the same time, the dollar will go down in value astronomically fast at the same time if you start to purchase. So as long as they leave that money and they keep creating more and pumping it into these different accounts at different big institutions like J.P. Morgan, Sachs, Bank, all these different, you know the bunch, the same old crew of these too big to fail banks. Their accounts keep going up bigger and bigger and bigger, fatter and fatter and fatter, but that money is it's almost like it's not real. It's almost like World of Warcraft money or something. If you had a child come in and he said, "Mommy, I got $1 million," and she said, "Oh, wow, where?" He says, "It's on World of Warcraft," and she goes, "Oh." This money's the same thing. Until you purchase something with it. Start to purchase something with it. It has no value whatsoever. Even though it might be $1 trillion just sitting there. And a lot of these accounts are not $1 trillion, okay, at a lot of these big banks, but they're probably hundreds of billions of dollars. And it's hard for us to get our head around that much money. Here's the thing. I think there's a time coming, and it's only natural. If you're one of these banks or you're one of these institutions and stuff, you've got all this money, there's going to come a time you're going to want to make that money real. It's not just going to sit there forever. Well, you can imagine. Just apply that logic to yourself. If you had a bank account right now and you knew what's happening in the system, you saw what was happening in the system with fiat money being eroded in value, and if you had a bank account with, say, $100 billion in it, wouldn't you want to exchange that for something of real value that's tangible in the real world? Especially as you see the system disintegrating? And believe me, this is probably their plan. Their plan is to disintegrate the system down until prices fall off to nothing and then scoop it all up on the cheap. You know? There's going to come a time when that dollar starts to devalue so fast that they're going to start to move that money. Where's it going to go? Well, you know, when the really big money starts to get really frightened, and I could see that happening really quick because we're on the edge right now. The people within the system, the average people are getting on edge. You seen what happened just a few weeks ago with the riots and stuff, you know. The people are on edge. It's only going to get worse as the system keeps getting more and more drained of capital within the part of the system that makes up the vast majority of the people, which is the Main Street. Because banks aren't lending anymore. They've tightened. They've made qualifying for a loan so hard right now it's unbelievable. And nobody's taking out loans. Only thing people are taking out right now is bankruptcies. This means more people out of work. As the situation escalates and grows, the people become more resentful. They become more upset inside. And this is a vast majority of people are actually starting to feel this way because they're feeling the pinch. These people have always had, you know, Han, go get me a cold one. The fridge has always had beer in it, you know. They've always had the widescreen TV. They've always had the good job. They've always had a brand new lease car to drive, you know. They've always been able to pay their mortgage, and I could go on and on. All of a sudden, their world's crashing in on them. He says, "Hon, you know what? At the end of July, we're not going to get those relief checks anymore. The extra $600 gone. What are we going to do? How are we going to pay our mortgage? We're getting behind in our mortgage. They're going to turn our lights off. They're going to turn our telephone off. I got no beer in my fridge anymore. And they're going to come repossess my television." This is happening all across America right now. I'm feeling it. Everybody's feeling it. How long do you think it's going to be before all of a sudden the people reaches a point, a boiling point? Now, the central banks have two choices. They can start to relinquish money to the people, but that's only going to stimulate the hyperinflation even faster and make the prices of things go up quicker and make more people feel like, hey, these dollars are worthless. So these guys that are sitting on the big bucks, I told you about earlier in the banks, and that money doesn't mean anything. It's like World of Warcraft money. They're going to hit a certain point where they're going to say, hey, you know, we got to get out and get into something that's going to hold its value. I'm going to tell you, all of them, the first thing they're going to think of is gold and silver. So they're probably going to go after the real physical metal. Take my word for it, with the amount of dollars we're talking here, trillions and trillions of dollars, Catherine Austin Fitts and Dr. Mark Skidmore discovered 21 or was it 23 trillion or something like that they've created. But there's a lot more. They probably just touching the tip of the iceberg. Massive amounts of money. Money like you couldn't believe, but it's meaningless. It's all meaningless unless they can get into something. So all of a sudden, like a light switch, it's going to go. And they're going to say, hey, we got to get into something. First thing they're going to think of is gold and silver. Hey, you know, we got to get into gold and silver. It's going to disappear so fast because they're going to want the physical. They're going to allocate it all, probably within an hour. When this thing switches, it can switch that fast with modern computer trading and the way things are running this modern world. They can snatch up all the physical gold and silver overnight. You wake up the next morning and you might decide to go into your coin store and buy yourself a few silver eagles. And you go in there and the guy's got the silver eagles. You can see them behind the counter. But it's got a sold sign on them because they've allocated them out from under you. The rich guys have actually bought them out from under you, and it's all gone poof like that. All the monster box is gone. They clean out ATMEX, clean out everything, and it's all gone. Everywhere you go, you phone up to any silver company or gold sellers, and they're all the same story. You'll have to go on back order. Yeah, we'll take your order, but you're going to have to go on back order. And so then what are all these people going to do? They're absolutely desperate to get out of the dollar then at that point, because the system is flooded with money. And the dollar's going down fast. Especially when we're talking about all these allocated trillions out there. What are they going to get into? There's not enough antique cars to go around. There's not enough classic paintings to go around. There's not enough of anything to go around to cover that kind of money. So what are they going to get into? I think they're going to get into cryptocurrency. I think the vast majority of the flood of that money, after they've bought up everything else, they can't allocate it anymore. They can allocate cryptocurrency. It's just that what'll they do to the price if trillions are pouring in? You know? And at the same time, take a consideration is, what's that going to do to the dollar? What's going to happen to the price of the dollar if that happens? Listen, guys, things are moving so fast right now. Anarchy could break out at any time. And of course, you know they're going to try to pacify them. The way to pacify them, the only way to pacify them is UBI. It's Universal Basic Income, and they're going to have to make it fairly stiff and big, too. Or something. Send them out new rounds of checks every month, maybe twice a month. They will capitulate. If the people come in mass and are angry enough, believe me, they will kneel down before the people and they will give in, and they'll give them anything they want just to try to keep them from tossing everything into the air. It's and you know, things can happen so fast when conditions are right. It's kind of like a forest, you know. If you get a month of dry weather and everything seems normal, you're driving by the forest every day, you know, gee, those leaves on the trees look kind of brown, don't they? And you drive by a week later, they're even browner now and crispier. Then all of a sudden you go to drive home one afternoon and the whole forest is on fire. It happens all at once. And that's what I'm warning you guys about. I can see the conditions for this are favorable and growing even more favorable. I see the dry leaves everywhere, ready to go. You can wake up some morning and all this stuff I'm talking about right now, with mad panic within the financial system, you know, and the people upset and everything just starting to fall to pieces. You wake up one morning and it can be happening. We're right on the edge of that. We're right on the very edge of that. And, you know, how to prevent it is to be proactive. So for the Fed right now, and the big bankers and everything, you know, they need to be proactive. They need to get out there now and start to support the people. So that the guy that hasn't got, you know, he don't know how he's going to pay for his big screen TV. He don't know how he's going to fill his fridge with beer. He doesn't know how he's going to pay his mortgage this next month. He doesn't know how he's going to keep his lights turned on and so on. Make it so right now. Don't wait. Make it so right now he knows how he's going to do all these things. Because, you know, the government will come out and support everybody. I mean, they've entered into this modern monetary theory. It's no time for them to back out now and pull the rug out from under all of us. Now that they've done this. They've put us in this position. And now if they back away, it's almost like the same thing with armies used to do that, you know. If they didn't like a guy, this is back in the days when an army used to march in on foot, you know. What they would do is put him in the front, you know, and they'd march in, and then they would withdraw and leave him there all by himself with the enemy horde. That's what they're doing to us. If they withdraw support from us. at this point in time. But what they're not taking into consideration is when the army would draw back and leave the guy with no support, it's just one of him there. But what's happening here is the vast majority of the people is who they're drawing support away from. We are the majority. We are the people. We vastly outnumber them. And at their heart, they realize this. You know, that the people vastly outnumber the people who are up in their ivory towers controlling the gears and switches. You know, like in The Wizard of Oz, the guy, he was controlling the gears and switches for this big behemoth, you know, of a system. They're few in number compared to the vast majority of the people who just take this nonsense day in, day out, and who are obedient to it. If they want to keep us obedient, they got to pay us. They got to keep us working. They got to keep the system running smoothly. Otherwise, what do you think's going to happen? This is just absolutely, it's simple. It's like, you ever seen those clacking balls? You know, you lift one ball on one end of the thing and you let it go, and it comes down, hits all the other balls, and then the ball directly on the other end goes up in the air? I don't know what they call those things, but it's action equals a direct and opposite reaction. So all I'm telling you guys here is the actions that have been taken are going to have a direct reaction. It's the law of the universe. And to prevent this opposite reaction that they don't want, they better do something now. They need to be proactive. Because if they wait and the whole thing falls apart, then try to scoop it up and put it back together, you might be in for some really big difficulty. I would say to you guys, in this kind of a situation, if the Bitcoin price dips down really low, scoop up some more. That's what I'd do. Seriously. And I got a little bit. I haven't even got one coin, but what I got is staying in my wallet right now, I'll tell you that. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.